I never knew there was a love like this before. Never had someone to show me a love like this before.
I think it is very easy for Black people to say our voice isn't being heard. Biracial people's voices aren't being heard. And I'm going to tell you why this is so close to me. I have a little sister who I don't consider half because I don't like that. Her mother is white. My father is Jamaican. Hearing her experience broke my heart of how Black people treat her. Is your hair weave? You think you're better than me. Oh, you think you're bad, this and that. It's heartbreaking. She has an experience as a biracial woman, and no one allows her to talk. No one allows people like you to talk or you to talk and say, I get discriminated against. People think I'm better than them when I just walked in the room being born how I was born. I didn't do anything. So as Black people, we tend to have a loud voice. Yes, there's colorism and dark-skinned people don't benefit from that. But the people that benefit didn't ask to be there either. Mm-hmm. We can't say as dark-skinned people, you're getting privilege and we don't have a voice when we are sometimes the ones that give the hate to biracial people. That's unfair because they didn't ask to be born how they were born. That's why it's like, yes, we deserve a voice, but so does everyone else.
I think that you're right. Yes, they should have a voice and those experiences need to be talked about. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that they're being put at the forefront of the voice of all Black people while they have a biracial experience. And the biracial experience, I'm sorry, is not Black.
What's up, everyone? It's Books&Looks TV. Today I'm going to talk about reverse colorism. Is it a thing? And if so, how, why, what, when, where? I just don't like her. All of these statements are prejudices and biases. Such perceived notions are often ingrained due to stereotypes. Warranted, sometimes they can arise from jealousy of privileges that light-skinned and or biracial people are granted. However, is that the same? So my overall question for today is, does reverse colorism exist? There are many people who argue that it is. However, I think it is fair to examine scholars and academics. Since the term colorism was coined by a fairly darker-skinned Alice Walker, I don't think it is fair to change it on feelings and new age social media rants. Though I do feel like people should utilize those spaces for greater discussion. History is just that, and I will be examining it via sociological and historical premises. Thus, I will examine both Black and biracial scholars' pages and examine the history of race identity and skin color stratification. Also, I will examine 3 entertainers that are known to many and their experiences of being biracial. I'm not here to cause commotion or harm anyone, so please keep an open mind.
You told him. How could you tell him? How could you tell him? You knew you were playing with fire. How many warnings did you need? You raped me. And you told him to save your precious virginity. Well, let me tell you what it cost. Word will spread like wildfire. A couple of mulattoes in here passing as white, and then you know what's going to happen? At the very least, George is going to hear, and I'll lose him, all because of your precious virginity. No one got the right to take it away from me. No one. Oh, you're not special. We've all been raped. Thought you was my friend. You're too dangerous to be anyone's friend. You're living in a dream. You're not in the real world, and you're not Little Miss in between. You're Little Miss high and mighty. My pappy was a colonel. I lived in a mansion. My pappy loved me. Then why did he let you go?
Y'all know that, a lot of y'all know that Black and biracial women have been like the victims of over-sexualization, slavery, rape, etc. And through this has come like different nuances of oppression. And a lot of biracial women feel that often they are victims of colorism. And I guess it all depends on how you operationalize it again. A lot of people don't view colorism. A lot of people don't equate hurt feelings or like certain experiences with overall colorism. There are different sociologists who address this. There are Black sociologists and even mixed sociologists. And so
hello, everyone. Welcome to another weekly live with yours truly, Dr. Sarah Webb of Colorism Healing. Today's topic is the question, does colorism go both ways? So you all know that this conversation creates a lot of discussion. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of feelings and emotions about this question about colorism going both ways, aka reverse colorism. And so I definitely want to I haven't, specifically addressed that in any of these lives. I'm going to do that here today. Before I get started, I'm going to allow people to wave, say hello, let me know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like where you are. Those are like...
In my view, feminist discourses about race and ethnicity are too often caught up in repetitive cultural narratives structured around the white other binary, victims and victimizers, colonized and colonizers, slaves and masters, dominated and dominators, us and them, the good guys against the bad guys. As a result, discussions about race and racism often collapse in frustration, anger, hurt, yelling, violent, withdrawal, and profound belief that different sides are unable to listen and learn from the other. This all too familiar dead end, what Mary Louise Bellows and Shireen Razak have called the difference impasse, often occurs in spite of the best intentions and efforts of many feminists to move beyond such repetitive patterns, overdetermined by the different locations feminists occupy and racial hierarchies. These discussions often encapsulate instead of moving through and beyond the ignorance, anger, guilt, and silences about race and racism that are the products of power relation and the larger society.
Maggie Hunter is a biracial sociologist, and she says colorism is a persistent problem for people of color in the United States of America. Colorism, or skin color stratification, is a process that privileges lighter-skinned people of color over darker in areas such as income, education, housing, and the marriage market. So these things are very institutionalized. And so while a lot of people would agree that lighter-skinned biracial women can go through different experiences with maybe darker-skinned women or in life in general, a lot of people feel like overall they are more privileged than darker-skinned people. So that's why a lot of people do shun that statement of reverse colorism. So I'm going to talk about 3, again, biracial women who have talked about reverse colorism or hinted at colorism. And the first one on the list is Queen Naija.
But it seemed like always little black nappy-headed, I'm sorry y'all, but it seemed like always little nappy-headed girls would bully me. Like they'd be jealous or something. Like, what? Yes, they was when I was little. I didn't do nothing to know. It seemed like always ugly people bullied me. I'm sorry.
So such thing as ugly people?
Well, it don't have nothing to do with, look, y'all, before y'all start going in, it don't have nothing to do with color, but them are always the people that bully me. It was always some little black little girls bullying me with some old little terrible hairstyle.
So if you guys are true supporters of me, then y'all already know the situation. But if you're not and you don't know anything about it, well, now you about to know. So a lot of times when I get posted like on blog sites or whatever, it's just always a lot of comments saying things about me being a colorist and, how I bash, black women or women of darker skin tone. And that's because 3 years ago, you guys, 3 years ago when I was doing YouTube, I was strictly a YouTuber, and I was doing a video with I was just doing a video with someone, and I was basically speaking on an experience where I was bullied when I was a little girl, and I was actually bullied like maybe through elementary through middle school. After high school, it really kind of like stopped. But as a young girl, I was always like really timid and just really nice to people. And I always got bullied. So I was speaking on a certain situation where I was bullied by a certain group of girls. And I used to get my hair pulled all the time, and I used to get pushed off the swings, off the slides. and just so many things. Like I would never, like, people would try to fight me all the time. And when I made the video, I was speaking on girls of my own race. When I say my own race, I mean black. I never described the skin color like as brown skin, dark skin, light skin. I just said black girls. I said it was always black girls who bullied me. And I said it was always black girls like with nappy hair that bullied me like they was jealous or something. That's what I said in my video 3 years ago. So when I got signed to a record label, people always try to bring up dirt and stuff. So people pulled that up about me and was like, hey, Capital, y'all signed a girl who's a colorist or a racist, whatever. And I was just like, I was just taken aback because I didn't understand how I said something wrong, because I grew up in a household where, like, a black household where nappy headed, or like the term nappy was used in such a normal way. Like it was just normal to me. So I didn't see why I said anything wrong back then. So in 2018, I made a video on my YouTube channel. I don't know if y'all remember, but I had like a blonde wig on, but I was explaining myself and I was basically trying to justify what I said back then because I didn't understand how it was wrong. But then as time went on, I kind of looked back at the videos and I was like, damn, I really did sound ignorant back then. Like I did sound ignorant, and I could see where a lot of people would take that part of that video and feel like I'm that, or I'm a colorist, or like I have something against black women. But so then this year I took it upon myself to do a Q&A, and then at the end I apologized to anybody who I offended. And that video didn't get a lot of views. So really the only video that goes viral, or that that resurfaces, is the one where I did say that. And I've addressed it plenty of times on Twitter, on my YouTube channel, and people don't like recognize that. They only recognize the video that keeps coming up. And it's probably some people I feel like they just want to say things, but then some people are probably really like taken aback, and they're supporters of me, and they kind of just don't understand where that came from. But people took my statement and generalized it for all black women. And that's not what I meant, y'all. I have never been a colorist. I have never felt like I was better because I was light skinned. Hell, I was trying to get a tan yesterday. Okay? Because listen, I feel like melanin is beautiful. I never thought that I was better. Now, the words that I have used in the past, they were probably ignorant. Well, they were ignorant. They weren't probably, but they were ignorant. But back then, I didn't know they was ignorant because that's what I was just used to. I wasn't that educated on like my culture, and I wasn't really deeply, rooted into it. So I didn't feel like I offended anyone back then. But now I see that I did offend like a multitude of black women. And I truly apologize again to anyone who I have offended by using that term. And that's that. Like I apologize a lot of times for it, and a lot of people keep bringing it up, and I'm not gonna say, like, that really does bother me, y'all, like, because there's not a colorist bone in my body at all. Like I've been bullied when I was younger. I've been bullied by girls of my own race that were darker than me, but I've also seen girls get bullied on the other end of the spectrum because they are darker tone. And I've had friends that's been bullied because they were dark too. So I do understand, that's not something I'll never understand it because I didn't experience, but I have seen it. So I would never be the one to bash women about their skin tone or skin color. But I don't know if you guys seen it, if y'all seen the video going around and you're new to it, I just want to make a disclaimer. That's not me. That's not what I am. I'm not a colorist. I love all black women. I'll do what I can from this point on to continue to support black women and all of us. I just feel like all shades are beautiful and we should come together and
Naja. So Queen Naja is a social media personality who was born in Michigan. She has described herself as mix of Arab, Black, and Italian. She has mentioned also having Indian ancestry, though she was not
Listen, all right, go ahead. Let's see what they want to know about you. Number one thing questions. What nationality is Queen Naija? They still Googling this.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, still.
Well, my father is Arab and my mom is black. So I'm Arab and black. But my mom is weird because like she's black, but she has little mixtures of like my grandma, her mom is like Italian and black. So it's like.
So she's like.
She's mainly black, but she got little hints of like Indian and Italian in her. My father is fully Arab. So I guess I just say black and Arab.
Of her stage name has revealed she's considered a name change due to many people believing that is like referencing Nigeria, because y'all know like a lot of people reference Nigeria as like Naija, etc. I think I want to legally change the spelling of my name, Naija, to Naja, because so many people think I'm calling myself the Queen of Nigeria. So moving along, her middle name has several meanings across different languages. According to several reports, it means wisdom or daughter of wisdom. Queen Naija's mother is of African American and Italian descent, and her father, who she admits she doesn't know, is Arab. So to me, she's probably a quarter black. I'm just keeping it real. So she spoke of the origin.
At the end of the day, my mom is black. I'm black. It doesn't matter if I mix with Arabic, Italian, Indian. Like, it don't matter. I'm still black myself. And I don't feel like it's right for other black women to say that I don't have the privilege to say anything else about black women because I'm mixed. I just don't feel like that's right. Or I'm light skinned. It doesn't matter. If I'm light skinned, I'm still black. And so, y'all took and twisted my words then. And then also, I guess I did a video last year as well when I was talking about how I used to get bullied in school. And when I used to get bullied, I always would get bullied by a certain type of female. And that certain type of female was always a black female. And I did say something about them having nappy hair. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe I could have said something different. But I was just trying to describe the girls that bullied me when I was little because, for some reason, like, it was only that type. That might have offended a lot of people. So if it did offend anybody, all I could really do is say I'm like truly sorry for that and I apologize. That's something I probably shouldn't have said. A lot of people had their ways of talking when they off camera, when they just talking to their friends and this and that. And maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, like, on camera. But I know like a lot of people, black people, talk about other black people and, they feel like, oh, maybe it's okay to talk about other black people because you're black. But when it comes to me, I can't mention anything about the texture of hair or skin color because y'all don't consider me fully black. I don't feel like that's fair. Like, just how you guys call each other the N-word. I ain't gonna say on here because I might get in trouble, but black people call each other the N-word. You know what I'm saying? So you don't feel like that's disrespectful? So I'm a black woman too. So if I say the N-word, then I'm wrong? No. Like, it shouldn't go like that.
And I do know that there are times that people can be jealous of you, right? There could be black and people be upset with you because of your hair type, how long your hair is. And so people probably were jealous of Queen Naija. But I think there's this unwritten rule that some people don't talk about, and it's that biracial light-skinned people can be bullies too, and some of them just aren't likable. And so some people might associate it with them being lighter or biracial, but that's not always the case. But either way, she spoke about this on a video with her Miss Mulatto. So Lotto talked about how she even named herself Miss Mulatto because when she was growing up as a biracial child, people would ask her a lot of questions like, why do you have blonde hair? Why is your skin?
Now, as far as your name, obviously I know what mulatto means, but some people might not. What made you go with that actual name?
Yeah, for me, it was just about flipping the negative and making it something positive. Like, from the jump, my parents is from the North. So, like, in the South, race is, like, a thing. Like, I remember being in, like, kindergarten, like, real young, and kids asking me, like, what are you? Like, are you black? Are you white? What are you? In kindergarten, like, in the South, that's a thing, you know what I'm saying? So, from the jump, like, my parents, they from the North, so my mama went to an all-white school, so the fact that she was pregnant, my mom had me at 15, so she got pregnant at 15 by a black man, like, it was just
she went through a lot, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like a flipping that negative from the jump. It was a negative because my mom, what she went through, being a teen mom and being pregnant by a black man at all.
So, was there any issues at school, or did everyone not really make it a big deal?
It was definitely a lot of issues in school. You know, when you're light skinned, you pretty, they kind of associate you with the typical stereotypical light skin. I think I'm all that girl. So I definitely dealt with a lot of bullying and things like that.
Okay, but did you identify as black or mixed or what? Exactly?
I don't like identifying with anything like specific. I rather, if I have to be something, I would say I'm biracial, mulatto. I don't like saying I'm white or black.
Okay, and your parents, did they stay together or no?
Yeah, my parents are still together.
Okay.
It's like I used to be kind of insecure about how I looked. I hated my hair texture growing up, and having to go to school and people look at me like, oh, she thinks she all that, why she's so bright, you know, stuff like that. I took that negative energy and made something positive.
Into light, etc. And I'm thinking maybe because she went to a black school, maybe people weren't used to someone who looked like her, because maybe a lot of people were darker skin or maybe light skin but didn't look like her. So I do know that it seemed to affect Lotto, again, who tried to reclaim the name Mulatto and, you know, kind of like take ownership of it through her rap name. But that would end up backfiring on her because a lot of people saw it as like politically incorrect. And again, Lotto would talk about like her experience as a mixed race girl growing up in Atlanta. And I would say that though there are mixed people growing up in the South, it's mostly, in my opinion, blackness. Like, blackness is very appreciated in the South. A lot of times people, depending on, like, if you live in a major city, I don't know if Atlanta was multicultural at the time, but if someone saw someone who was mixed or even from, like, a different ethnicity outside of black and white, a lot of people would have a lot of questions about you. Like, even if you were Mexican. Like, there were very few Blexicans when I grew up, but I had a friend who was Blexican. So I had asked her questions. And it wasn't to like be racist, but it was just to try to understand her cultural experience. But after a while, I just didn't care because she was my friend. So I do think that people can say really harmful things to children, regardless of your race. But I do think that a lot of people kind of need to grow beyond that, because children are just mean and they just say what comes to their head. And sometimes they don't even know it's mean. They just see something they said. So again, I'm not trying to minimize what Lotto went through, but I think it's important to realize, like she even said in one of her interviews, in the South, you just don't see that many multiracial people. And it has grown, especially like in places like Florida, etc., or like maybe even Houston. But generally, culturally, historically, it's been black and white. She has been side-eyed because she has said colorist things. Aside from people feel like she has capitalized off of being mixed race, she has had like a darker skinned black woman who was supposed to be her best friend, and she said some really mean things towards her. And this was her personal assistant doing her hair. And in general, a lot of
place on your head with them thin ass $1.99 can't on pack. 2 packs with them thin ass brittle, dry ass, and I very much giving very much hey, dry, brittle. And your nigga wanna chew it. Your nigga wanna chew me, bitch. You get yeah. Yeah, bitch. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know nothing about it, bitch. She wanna be arrogant, taste so bad, but she could never. She could never. Tay holding up really too far from Tay, bitch. I'll swallow me, drip down, sound me. Yeah, this is my assistant and my hairstylist and my best friend and my pet fucking orangutan. That's my chia pet. It's what you call almost done? You're almost done. Stop. Your pussy is well done.
there's a lot of other questionable things that people just don't respect her for, but a lot of people fetishize her because of her body shape and some of the features she has. Next up is Krishan. And so Krishan,
Dark skin ones that be looking.
Wow.
The dark and dusty ones that be scared.
That be looking like a dot.
That be like jealous, so jealous of girl. Like,
oh my god, light skin girls. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Shit crazy. Why they hate?
She black.
Oh, wow, don't tell me, bruh. It always be those ones. Like, why? Why
Yeah,
they
the
hate?
dark skin ones that be looking.
Why? Why?
The dark and dusty ones that be scared.
That be looking like a dot.
That be like jealous, so jealous of girl. Like,
oh my god, light skin girls. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Shit crazy.
I'm crazy.
Jealous.
That fucking video was just made to make me look bad. Second, nigga, I was making a point because the bitch that was doing too much was dark skin. So that dark skin bitch I didn't like.
Krishan had an old video that resurfaced, and it seemed like she was in high school. That context kind of centers around what some people would call reverse colorism, like there's some hatred towards light-skinned girls. But she also went on to say things about her complexion, like saying, but I just thought it was interesting how when she was confronted, she said, oh, that was to make her look bad. If you're saying it's to make you look bad, are you also acknowledging that you said it and that was bad? With Krishan, it's kind of hard to analyze what comes out of her mouth because I feel like a lot of times she is either like not serious about life or just so high that you can't even really tell if she's in her right mind. Nonetheless, what she said was still colorist, and I think her not taking accountability didn't help the situation. People really glorify Krishan or being this quote unquote ratchet pretty girl, and a lot of the prettiness happens to be with her light skin, her hair texture, etc. But overall, Krishan has a nasty attitude, and there are some flaws about her that I won't even get into because I think people know them. But it's interesting how even though people talk about Lotto and they talk about Naija, yes, they're not perfect, but at least they apologize. Even if it wasn't sincere, they apologize. Krishan never apologized. Krishan is so unaccountable, it's crazy. And she, unlike Lotto and even Naja, she really has no talent. Like, she's charismatic. Sometimes she could say relatable stuff in songs, but all she does is show up and do reckless things. And she's one of the most unaccountable celebrities or influencers that I have seen in the recent years. And it's crazy how the internet glorifies this behavior. But nonetheless, I wanted to bring up Krishan because she's not biracial. As far as I know it, she's a light-skinned black woman. And she seems the most entitled, again, out of this entire list. And she's so problematic. And she's someone who's from Baltimore, Maryland. And I know a lot of people consider that like the Mason-Dixon line. But they had slavery. They have a lot of, it's like a predominantly black city. They have a lot of black history, etc. So from her to be from a place like that, you think she would be a little bit more socially aware. But I feel like Krishan has been able to navigate because of colorism, again, her being lighter skinned. And I think it's really sickening how someone can be so detached from like the public audience or just darker skinned people to not even apologize to people who probably really rock with her. No pun intended. And I'm just going to read a public opinion.
You know what I hate? When dark-skinned people are talking about colorism and then a light-skinned person try to like sneak their way in and they like, we have to be like, no, like this is a conversation that's not about you. And then they be like, okay, but I just feel like you're invalidating my experience. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I'm gonna invalidate it just a little bit. I'm sitting up talking about how I was called an African booty scratcher. And you're talking about how you were called a light-skinned, thick, red bone with long hair and a big forehead. Fuck you, girl, go to hell. Yes, I'm gonna invalidate it a little bit. Nobody cares. Cry about it.
I agree with a fat ass nose. You don't even, and I know you don't like your complexion, because you look like one of them type of bitches.
Y'all heard the same thing I did, right? And you heard it from the same person, right? Like this is Krishan Rock, the girl who was literally on live taking a fat shit while drinking a bottle of alcohol and didn't even wash her hands when she left the bathroom. This is the same girl who was living off of Blueface, her baby dad who does not want to claim her or the baby. And okay, this is the same girl who was fighting so hard just to be a side bitch.
And
this is the same girl who got her own sister jumped on reality TV.
Crockett.
Like, you not about to sit up here and walk around like a crazy ass hooligan who literally looks like she needs to be put into a mental asylum, and then you go sit up here and talk bad about dark skinned women. Light skin doesn't automatically make you pretty. Light skin doesn't automatically make you better than darker skinned people. Okay? You can still have light skin and be an ugly dumb bitch. Okay? And Krishan, that is exactly what you are.
So we can't just say it's just a black on black thing, and we have to acknowledge that when lighter girls are speaking on colorism, it's not the same thing as racism. It's two different things. If we're going to speak about racism, we could all sit down and speak on it. But if we're going to talk about colorism, you have to acknowledge it's not the same thing. You did not have the same experiences as us. Do you get what I mean? And that doesn't go to say it's not the same way for you, that you didn't have like a harder experience in certain aspects, like being called certain names or being made to feel like you have it better, so I'm going to treat you worse type of thing. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like it's such a deep rooted issue that, like, to say that, like, I would never say, oh, you can't speak on this because you're not dark skinned, or like, you can't say that. But
you are white passing every day, man. For real, go that way. Okay.
At this point, I really am very much like, whatever you identify as, whatever you feel like you are, that's what you is. Because my mother is an African woman and my father is a light skinned black man. And y'all be in my comments mixing up light skin and passing all the motherfucking time. Y'all don't know what words mean for real. Cause, you know, I know for a fact, I know what passing means. Baby, I'm not passing. Not with this wide ass nose, not with these fat ass lips. But whatever y'all think it means, keep on talking. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you think you is. Who gives a fuck at this point? Y'all are stupid.
You big black effing N-word. That is what I heard my foster dad, who adopted me, say in the comfort of his room with his whole chest while his adopted biracial daughter was sleeping in the living room, that daughter being me. 3 years ago on this app, I shared my story of biracial trauma and how I was exiled from the foster adopted mom's side of the family when her parents, aka my grandparents, found out that I was half black and that there was undeniable evidence that I was black when I met my biological family and had them a part of my lives. And now I feel stupid for ever believing that I could change any of those people. The dad, like has said for the past 3 years, oh, I've changed because of my daughter. I live in my car and I was staying there just so I could have easy access to a bathroom while I was on my period. And he was saying that about a black woman who came across his Republican news station.
So light-skinned people experience racism. Light-skinned people get stopped by the cops. Light-skinned people get followed in stores. They get, you know, assumed to be less competent and that kind of thing. But they're less likely. That's all I'm saying. It's less likely. And oftentimes when it does happen, it's less fatal. It's not as lethal. A lot of times the situation de-escalates a little bit because you're more approachable or you're more articulate, right? Or you're one of the good ones. Whereas if I'm saying anything, always being seen as aggressive just for speaking. And so even when a light-skinned woman is acting the same way, is acting just as aggressively or being just as assertive, it's not perceived as aggression.
Hey! But in all seriousness, can we address this, please? I'm tired of seeing y'all arguing in my comments because reverse colorism is not a thing. I might still be confused. Let me read the definition for you real quick. Colorism, prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among the people of same ethnic or racial group. I think I'm going to come up with a new term for this. Robin DiAngelo coined the term white fragility when white people have a hard time talking about racism when their ego is disrupted by confronting these issues. I'm going to call this light skin fragility because it gives the same energy that white people have when they're confronted with racism.
I've asked some guys in the past who say, well, how do you know when it's just a preference versus when it's colorism? So one, a preference can be colorist, just like a preference can be racist. You can have a racist preference. You can have a sexist preference. You can have a colorist preference. You can have a homophobic preference. And I pose the scenario of going into class. Let's say you're a student at a university, or even if you're an elementary school student and you have a white teacher let's say your white teacher's name is Amy, you know, she's like in her mid 40s, has like red hair, freckles, you know, just the average white woman. You go walk into class on the first day of school and she says, "Oh, well, hello. You know, I usually prefer to teach white students, but it's okay if you hang with us this semester." I mean, I'm not racist. I don't have anything against black students. I just prefer not to teach them.
I'm biracial, right? I had a black mother, white father, but I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, right? And if you weren't black in my neighborhood, you were Hispanic. Okay. Now I look more like a Hispanic than I look black, obviously, but I didn't relate because I'm looking at my mother, a beautiful brown ebony skinned woman, and I don't look like her. My sisters were a little bit darker than me, and the kids didn't really accept me growing up. Right. And I always would try to fit in to being and showing my blackness. Like I was like, I'm black. So when they kind of like ostracized me and made fun of me, then I would try to cling to the Hispanic kids because at least I looked more like them. But then, you know, I don't know their language. I didn't know their music. And so I didn't feel like I fit in there. And so there was loneliness in that where I was like this kid just climbing a tree. I would literally climb the tree and sit on the top of the tree like I don't belong anywhere. And yes, it created an incredible amount of insecurities that even when I got older, I had a hard time embracing my beauty, embracing that this is what I look like. So when all of a sudden my look became exotic, right? All of a sudden it was like a trend to be dark hair, dark eye, and curvy. And what are you? And more mixed children were being born. Then all of a sudden it was like, but you're beautiful, you're this. And I had a very hard time really equating beauty to what I look like.
Something about the experience of being a black biracial woman, I think a lot of people don't understand, and that's being fetishized. Now, on a surface level, most black people know what that feels like, and they know what it looks like. However, being biracial is a different scenario. We all know that a lot of interracial relationships happen as a result of fetishization, but nobody talks about what that does to the kids. We acknowledge that biracial people have privilege without acknowledging the fact that we also are still treated less than human. Many white people gravitate towards us because they see us as a more palatable form of blackness. However, there are white people who are more disgusted by the idea of somebody being mixed race and, you know, the white race not being pure anymore than they are with blackness. So they will tolerate black people as long as we stay over there. But then when a me comes around and they're like, wait, I'm related to you, or like my people created you, that's disgusting. So I got interrupted and then forgot to record, but I'm back. So like I said, sometimes some white people will be more tolerable of a black person with two parents that they're not related to as opposed to a mixed race person. I noticed this a lot in my family. I mostly grew up around my white family with white people, white friends, all that stuff. I did have black friends, but I only had like 2 or 3. And one of them I'm still friends with today that I met in elementary school. But I had very little exposure to my black culture. It was very confusing for me growing up because my white family didn't really know how to teach me about my blackness, so they just never brought it up. And they tried to treat me as if I wasn't any different than a white person, even though I had vastly different experiences than they did. And so a lot of my racist family members, even if they weren't outwardly racist, they still only tolerated me and like my dad, who's black. They never really treated us like we were human. They always treated us as if we were some special guest, even if we were related to them. I don't think some of them could ever come to terms with the fact that their descendants were no longer purely white. Yet if they saw a black person on the street somewhere or like, I don't know, at the campground, they wouldn't necessarily be racist towards them. But as I've said in the past, tolerating black people is not respecting black people. My problem was I couldn't just step away like black people could. Black people can remove themselves from white spaces and go home and be perfectly fine. I couldn't do that.
To give her her own video. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this video, but in this video, I find it intriguing that you chose to make a video response to my video 2 months after I posted it, and 2 months after you even commented on it. Girl, this is old and I've taken accountability and apologized. Focus on the bigger picture and not people's mistakes. I've changed my ways. So okay, you admit that at one point you were colorist and that your actions were wrong. So why are you calling me a liar in the entirety of your video? Do you know what accountability means? To take full accountability means to take full responsibilities for one's actions without deflecting. I made that video before I even knew you apologized. And then I made a video about your apology and let the people decide whether or not it was authentic. And I believe. And now, quite frankly, I don't even know if I believe you. But that's not up to me. That's up to the people that you offended. I call out colorist celebrities all the time. And I don't care if you're even an A-list celebrity like Lil Wayne. I will call you out. You were just part 3.
No. It was no 15 minutes ago, and it's no now. Like, every time. I understand. Like,
that was an awesome conference, right?
Except all the black women were lighter than a paper bag.
Don't be a hater. At least black women are winning.
But if they're all light-skinned, then not all black women are winning. Colorism is the social marginalization and systemic oppression of people with darker skin tones and the privileging of people with lighter skin tones. This happens within and across race, ethnicity, region, and culture.
Like featureism and texturism, colorism is a product of white supremacy, colonization, classism, and casteism.
Oh, colorism. I've experienced that.
You benefit from it.
Actually, it goes both ways.
Actually, it does not.
Just like there's no such thing as reverse racism, there's no such thing as reverse colorism.
There are people who benefit from colorism, lighter skinned folks, at the expense of those who are harmed by colorism, darker skinned folks. Institutional colorism means that medical devices are not designed to work well on darker skin tones. Medical imagery and models routinely erase darker skinned people.
Darker skinned black people are 30% more likely to be incarcerated or criminalized due to colorism.
And because of colorism, people with darker skin tones are less likely to be featured in film, TV, and advertising. Conversations around colorism should be led by the people who are harmed by it, aka dark-skinned folks. I launched Colorism Healing in 2013 to dig deeper and facilitate solutions. You can learn more at colorismhealing.com.
In conclusion, I would like to say that I have different family and friends who are light skinned and or light skinned biracial, and I don't think that they intentionally perpetuate anti-blackness per se. However, I have noticed certain privileges and disadvantages that they have. There are names coined such as red, peaches, and so on to pretty much fetishize the color of their skin. Most of the times, actually, other black people gave them that name, especially black men. Their light skin privilege has gotten them numerous boyfriends, husbands, gifts, and even get out of jail free cards. Yet they have also experienced life as a black woman with racism and misogyny the same. I've met ambiguous women who have also had hard lives and been objectified and riddled in poverty and just everyday life circumstances. One of my friends who is a black Dominican has told me often that men have said put her on a pedestal by giving her backhanded compliments, again, because she sees herself as black. She doesn't find it like praise. She distances herself from those men. But a lot of times when she tells them, I'm black, I don't appreciate you saying that about black women, or I'm not interested, they will attack her and say, you're not black, you don't look black, etc. Aside from that, there are a lot of biracial folks who have utilized their privilege to advocate for black people. And whether it be wages, laws, or just speaking out against colorism and racism, white supremacy. So it's crazy to say that all light-skinned biracial people are bad or selfish. There will always be people who are down for division, no matter the skin complexion. And unfortunately, those people often highlight and represent the worst of black and biracial people, which I think is often intentional, especially in media. I think at the heart of the matter, people deserve grace. We all have privileges of some sort. The fact that I can even sue grievances about skin color stratification as a woman in the United States is a privilege. Yet systematically, black people do not have power. So the idea of reverse colorism is non-existent. Black and biracial black people often have a history of trauma. Though some of us were in the field, some were in the house. etc. The system that impacts us all and causes division is racism, white supremacy at the root of everything. And I think it is important that we acknowledge history and heal and present ourselves. It is unfair to mistreat anyone based on skin color, and that's on my light skinned mama, whom I love dearly. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know down below. And thank you for listening to Books and Looks TV. Also, special shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreon members, and just everyone who supports me, and even my hate watchers. Y'all are amazing. And I'll see y'all next time.